See, this is what happens. I just want to tell you that you're so not alone with this. It's like, I don't know if you went out for depression or anxiety. You're like, I'm too depressed or anxious to have sex. And then you feel like having sex. And then you are feeling happier. But then you have sex and you can't have an orgasm, or you just don't, your libido has been impacted.
You're listening to Sex with Emily. I'm Dr. Emily, and I'm here to help you prioritize your pleasure and liberate the conversation around sex. Today, we're talking about how antidepressants affect your sex life. These medications can be life-saving for depression and anxiety, but they often come with side effects like lower libido, trouble with arousal, or difficulty reaching orgasm. In this episode, I'll break down why it happens, what you can do about it, and share real listener stories, from losing orgasm on Prozac to finding hope with Wellbutrin. And we'll also look at cultural myths around desire, including what Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion's WAP reveals about the double standards in female sexuality. So whether you're on medication, in a relationship, or just curious about the link between mental health and sex, this conversation will give you clarity, solutions, and permission to reclaim your pleasure. All right, let's dive in.
And WAP, let me just say, it's an acronym for like a well-lubricated vagina. Vulva. Well, actually vagina, because internally. But the vulva can be lubricated as well. It can have some wetness. And it is an overt display of female sexuality. But how long have we been listening to men rap about and talk about and sing about female sexuality and their penis doing certain things, right? We hear it all the time, but to see a woman, I found it empowering. There are parts of it, though, that I would like to discuss because I think it brings up a lot of things about wetness and female sexuality and arousal and desire. I like the song, I gotta say it. And I do see it as a celebration of female sexuality in many ways. So essentially, she's talking about the fact, Cardi B, fighting. And just in that part we just heard, she's talking about, what does she say here? I don't even like the word pussy, so I never really say it. I really don't. I don't know why. You know me, I say vagina, I say vulva, I say penis. My first thing is that the controversy first came up because they're talking about how if it's wet, that's a problem and women shouldn't celebrate it. And I thought, well, I would just want to talk about this part of it because some people think it's shaming or something's wrong with it. The first point I want to make is just technically as a sex doctor that vaginal lubrication is awesome and necessary. However, you can be aroused and turned on and not be that wet. You can also be really wet and not turned on. And so my only concern is that it could perpetuate this myth that this notion that women should always be really wet and really turned on every time and ready to go. And then now if we're not, that's a problem. Now, I understand that it's from their perspective and celebrating their sexuality, which again, I think we need more videos and more women and more songs and more things that are celebrating women loving their own bodies and celebrating female sexuality because there's been so much that is sort of against it, right? If you think about like Adam and Eve, right? It was all about Eve being the temptress and it was Eve's fault, right, that Adam bit into the apple. And so there has been, centuries, of repression of female sexuality and female desire. So whenever I see women celebrating it, it's amazing, right? But not every woman does. I said it to my mother before the show. I was like, I just want to know what you think. She goes, I'm too old for this. I think it's like I'm 40 years too old for it. But I know Kylie Jenner makes a appearance, which that was the first thing everyone was talking about. Like, why is Kylie Jenner in it? But it really blew up when Ben Shapiro, conservative talking head, he tweeted that his wife, who's a doctor, told him that if a vagina is wet, it requires a bucket and a mop. And that maybe it's about a sexually transmitted infection. So I'm not saying the song is about that at all. But I do think that it points this thing that women's sexuality has been a threat to men in so many ways, that a woman being, standing up and celebrating her sexuality, and that a lot of our power has been, men are sort of the arbiters of a healthy sex, and men are the ones who sort of control female sexuality. So I like the celebration of that. And that what I also like is that it's women that they're sort of saying, yeah, great, we own it. Because so many times when women have done that, especially when I was like in my 20s, if I talked about the men I slept with and what I did, I was called a slut. It was called slutty. Or, you women always talk about, I want to keep my numbers down. I don't want people to know how many people I've slept with because it's somehow virginal, which is all just kind of silly to me because I feel like women, I find it, obviously, it's my job. But I talk to everybody, women and men, obviously. And I'm very open and not judging anybody. But what I'm saying is when I do see women saying, it's okay, I'm going to own my body. I'm going to own my pleasure. I'm going to talk about my orgasm. I'm going to ask for it. I wanted it. I wanted this sex. I'm going to take it. This is what I need. To me, that is a celebration, however it's done. But not everyone ever agrees on music. We don't agree on lyrics. We don't all even agree on pop culture or any of it. But I like it when I see women celebrating and owning it. So that's how I feel about it. I mean, and there's so many examples of men. Megan, our call screener, said, if men can rap slob in my knob, we can rap about the WAP. I mean, it has been normalized in pop culture for a long time. So I did want to take it back to the wetness level here. What does it mean? Because this is my thing. Because when I thought, I was like, okay, I can talk about it in the show. We don't usually cover all the stuff that's going on in the news, but when it relates to sex, I will. And so my thing is, I want you to understand that it's important for your vagina to be well lubricated for sex. And that's why I'm a huge fan of lube, and I want there to be a lube on every nightstand, because you can't control how wet we get. It changes certain times a month. It can change hormonally, certain medications. And if women aren't wet enough, then there's like tears and dryness, and you can get infections. It is not pretty. So I just want women to be able to monitor it. Now, you can get too wet. So Kendra asks on my team, what do you do when you're too wet? And that happens for women as well. They're like, I am just too wet. And now there's too much wetness, and that can happen too. This is the stuff that I want to normalize here on the show. I want to normalize all of it and say, yeah, you can get too wet. So that can happen. Usually you're not too wet the whole time, but what I would suggest is you just kind of get off, and you can put a towel down. You can sort of wipe up and then go back at it. But there's not really anything you can do if you get too wet, except for maybe kind of if it's causing a problem, then you can kind of pull back and do something else sexually. There is a gynecologist who's been on the show a lot, Dr. Carolyn DeLucia out of New York, and she says that women can take, I believe it's like an antihistamine, because it's the same thing. If it's really like a problem and it can help dry you out. That was the only thing I heard that was like a medical, but I don't like to, recommend that people are taking certain drugs for certain things that they're not meant for, but that is what I heard. Otherwise, I just think you stop for a minute, you throw a towel down, you go to the bathroom, you wipe off, and you go. Because usually if you're, the other thing about wetness, though, I just want to say, is that it is not only an indicator of you being aroused or turned on. And that the reason why we have this notion is because we're always saying, oh, was she wet? Are you wet? And I remember like having sex with guys and they was like, oh, you're wet. Are you wet? Are you going to be wet enough? And you're like, oh, I'm so wet. Like that's something that we say because women's sexuality is always compared to men who have this sort of spontaneous arousal, right? Like, if your partner's turned on because there's an erection. And then women, it's another way that we're like, oh, I'm not turned on enough. I'm not wet enough. But all I want to say is that is not the way that you measure your arousal. And there's so many other ways to be aroused and to be turned on. So another question here from Amanda. What if it's poor timing or it's not a sexual situation, like when you're on a run? Yeah, that can happen too. When you get too wet. You guys ever have the sneeze and pee or running and pee? That happens a lot. And what that means when that happens for women is that usually it is a pelvic floor thing. It means that there's a weakness in the pelvic floor. For a lot of women, they experience after childbirth. And this is why you're keeping your pelvic floor strong and doing your Kegel exercises is so important for women, really women at any age. And so when that happens, you really just, honestly, do your Kegels. And Cardi B does say in the song, I do a Kegel. When he's in me, I squeeze a Kegel. And that is true for some women. When you, here's the thing about your pelvic floor muscles is that your pelvic floor muscles, your Kegels, doing a Kegel muscle, it's when you are using those muscles where you stop and start the flow of urine. That's what it is. Like if someone's knocking on the door in the bathroom and you're like, I gotta stop. It's that muscle. And so if you exercise those, like you tense and you relax, for 3, hold for 3, release for 3 seconds or 5 seconds, and you do that for a few minutes a day, that actually will make a huge difference in just a few weeks. Because for women, like after childbirth, or when you just get older, if you don't have kids, you start to have sneeze and pee, you start to run and pee. The other amazing thing I want to talk about, this is good that we're on Kegels, is there's this awesome product called Yarlap, and it's Yarlap, and so many of you have loved this, so I'm bringing it up again. And it is a product that women can use, and you put it inside of you, And it actually does your Kegels for you, because a lot of us don't do them correctly. And so you can just lie back and put it inside you, and it uses its electrostimulation. That it doesn't, you can't really feel it. It's not painful. It's just inside of you. And it's actually stimulating those muscles. It gets the blood flowing again and builds those muscles. So you won't have the urinary incontinence, as we call it. Sneeze and pee's easier. But it's called urinary incontinence. That is the medical term for it. Also, the thing about doing your Kegels and strengthening them is that it helps you have stronger orgasms. Because if you think they're the muscles that are responsible for orgasm. Thinking of that, like, we have so much pressure as women to feel like that something's wrong with us if we're not turned on and always ready for sex, that we are somehow, I mean, honestly, there's some ways that we feel broken because we are compared. And again, this is not, I literally think that people don't know this because it's always been this way, that we compare, like penetrative sex. Like, we are told that sex is all about penis going into vagina. And that's the ultimate, when only 30% of women are going to have an orgasm that way. They're actually not going to have their most pleasure from that, but that's how we compare it. Because I think that we feel if we're not having pleasurable or satisfying sex in some way, it's because we are not, that there's something, wrong with us or that we're broken. We're like, oh, well, my partner's turned on and I'm not turned on yet. And then we put this, do you guys do this? I do that. You put this pressure on yourself. And so then we put pressure on ourselves before it even starts that we're not turned on yet, or we're distracted, or we're stressed, or something else has been going on. And to understand, to give women the permission that when we want to get aroused or turned on, that it's a process, and that for a lot of women, it can take anywhere from like 15 minutes to an hour to be ready, to be like, okay, I'm ready. I am mentally aroused. I am physically aroused. I've done all the things I need to do to be ready for it. And sometimes we got to prepare for it on our own. And that there's just more to think about when you think about the complexity of female desire and arousal, and that it just can take a while. And then we start to think that we have a low libido and that we're never in the mood for sex, or we're somehow broken because we don't understand the process. And this is for women of all ages, that actually to be there and be ready for sex is a process for every single woman to figure out what that looks like. It might be watching porn. It might be sending sexy texts throughout the day to our partners and be thinking about the sex happening. We need the premeditated, sex. We need to know sometimes that it's happening. We need to build towards it. And there's no information about this for women. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. There'll be more Sex with Emily. Thanks to everyone for supporting our sponsors. We only work with sponsors that we enjoy ourselves, and I hope you do too. Let's talk to April, 39, in California. Hi, April. What's going on?
Hi.
Hi.
Well, I would just say, I guess, that my boyfriend and I have just kind of had a lot of bigger issues to try and work through, like wanting to move to a new place and just working on a relationship. And I find that I'm just not as into sex lately, and I normally am really into it, but I'm just kind of mad and frustrated with him. Yeah. And so the emotional part's getting in the way, and I just am kind of wondering if there's a way to figure it all out. But
yeah, this is what happens. Too. Yeah, no, but April, this is the thing that we have to honor, that it's all normal, right? People are like, am I normal? Am I normal? It's okay, yes. The thing that's the most constant about sex, the most normal thing about our sex drive and our sex life is that it fluctuates over time, that sometimes we're in the mood, sometimes we're not in the mood. We go through periods where we're feeling very sexual and then long periods where we're not. And also emotionally, if you're having challenges with your boyfriend right now, then that would make sense that, when our brain isn't on board, it's hard for our body to follow. I mean, your question is, how do I get back on board with sex? And I can tell you that, but also what's going on? Do you think you want to be in this relationship? What's happening?
I mean, I definitely want to be in it, and I hope that we can work through stuff, because it's not the worst issues compared to, say, some of my girlfriends, but right. I just feel like he's not addressing any of the things that are kind of big big issues for me. And so that's just making me kind of resentful. And,
Of course.
you know, I keep telling him we need to spend more time talking about things and like trying to figure it out, but he's just not good at communicating. And I don't know what to do. I just feel flustered and
yeah, well, I hear you. I mean,
frustrated.
well, resentment's a big thing. So if you talk about why you're not in the mood, it's because you have resentments right now. And let me just tell you this. I'm going to give it to you straight. If right now he's not considering things that are important to you and doesn't want to talk about it, how long have you guys been together?
2 years.
Okay. So let me just tell you this. There's not going to be a time where he all of a sudden decides that he wants to spend a lot more time talking about your issues. That's not going to happen. So just know that people don't change much. I don't think that all of a sudden he's going to be like, you know, April, I want you to tell me now, like, let's just take this night and dedicate it to what is going on with you because I'm here for you. You're not going to get that, right? But you might get something else. You might get part of that. Just know that these shifts don't usually happen the way we expect it because it's been 2 years. If you were like 2 months, I'm like, okay, you're still getting to know each other. But 2 years, you know, what are the big issues that he doesn't want to talk about right now?
I would say it's kind of a few things. So one, I want to talk about our sex life more because it hasn't been as great as it was the last couple months.
Okay.
I just want to kind of talk more about our relationship and where it's going and where we're going and like goals in life. And I just kind of feel like he might be a little bit stuck. And so I have to decide how I feel about that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I want to move into a different place and we're in a really seasonal climate, so we don't have a lot of windows to like do that kind of stuff. And he has a pet that just drives me crazy and he won't do any training or like resolve any issues there. And, you know, I'm just not down with cleaning up messes all the time and dealing with bad behavior all the time. And it's just like kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, that's a lot. Okay, so April, can you hear why maybe you don't feel like jumping on his bones right now? I mean, I'm hearing...
Yeah.
Really? I mean, you guys live together then, right? Because you have to deal with the pet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the first thing is, I feel like if you had some more security... I mean, what I see is, I just even wrote it down. I was like, okay, sex life, relationship, goals in life, and then the pet's like number 4. But I see them as all kind of related, right? Like, you think he's not moving forward in his goals in life, and he's not even training. Did you say it was a dog or just a pet? I mean, he's not training his pet.
Yeah, it's a dog.
He's not training the pet. He's not training himself. Your sex life is stagnant right now because you don't feel safe and you don't know where it's going and you're 39 years old. So like, you know, in our 20s, I don't know, for me in my 20s, I was like, yeah, I've got all the time in the world. And then I'm like, oh, I actually need to know because if it's not working, I'm out. These are not just the things that are important to you. I think, April, you want to be with a partner who thinks these are important too, who the second the sex life isn't great, he wants to talk about it with you and be like, what can we do? And they want to know where it's going as well. So... yeah, I mean, I could tell you ways that you could get turned on again and what you can do, but I think that these are the things that we got to figure out now because you live together. I mean, do you want to have kids?
I feel like that window is closing quickly if it's not already closed, so probably more unlikely than not.
Yeah, I mean, you're 39. You know, women have...
And the dog thing is certainly not helping that.
The dog, yeah. I mean, right. Well, look at the dog. Your kid's going to be, you know what I'm saying?
How's it going to be with the kid?
These are really big issues. These are really important things to figure out as an adult with someone you've been with for 2 years. Even one of these things, right? Like most people are like, everything's great, but our sex life isn't. Or everything's great, but, you know, I feel like I'm not inspired by my partner because he's not motivated to get a job. Like, but these are all 3 things. I'm not even including the dog. So my recommendation to you is to say, we have to talk about all these things because we got to figure out an answer right now. Is it going to work? Is it not? And I love therapy. Like right now, you could get a therapist on Zoom. You could see someone for an hour a week for the next month and have way more answers than you did today. Because I don't think that it doesn't sound like he's someone who's going to be on board with that or you guys are going to be able to figure it out when he doesn't really want to talk about anything. So what really helps is, and I was, you know, I've been with guys too for even shorter amount of time than 2 years. And we went for a few weeks, few months, and we figured it out. Because it's like a mediator. It's someone's going to help you move the needle and move it along. Because these matter to you and they should matter to you. And it's not just your agenda. It's his agenda too. It's his life.
Right.
So could you see it?
Yeah,
could you
do you
see
have
a
any
therapist?
tips on how to find a therapist?
I do. I mean, honestly, well, first off, do you have insurance?
I do.
Okay, awesome. I mean, a lot of insurance companies right now, for many plans, you get like 10 sessions free or they pay half of it. Psychology Today has a good list of therapists. You can search specifically by what you're looking for, like a family therapist or a couples therapist. And really, it's a relationship thing. It's like making new friends in a way. You got to see, like, do you like this person? But I don't know. I mean, I've been seeing mine on Zoom, and that's really easy. So I would find somebody that's covered by your insurance. And honestly, a basic therapist, they don't do the best one in the world, but they can, hopefully you find a really good one. But most therapists will help you develop tools so you can learn to communicate with him specifically and get to the bottom of this if you both want the same things. And if he says no to therapy and no to talking, then call me back. Thank you, April. Thanks for calling. Good luck.
Okay,
I appreciate it. All right. Of course, want to find out more about this? Well, check out sexwithemily.com. We'll be right back. Olivia's 22 in Brooklyn. Hi, Olivia. What's going on? How can I help you?
Hi. Oh, my God. I'm so excited to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So happy to talk to you.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about SSRIs and sex drive, which is something I've experienced a problem with personally. And as a young person who enjoys sex, it has been disappointing, I guess, to say the least, because I'm also an anxious person. So the SSRI, helps that. But yeah, I was just curious, like, if you had any advice on that sort of how to deal with that, and how to like sustain a sex drive and relationships when you're also dealing with being on medication.
Yeah. How long have you been on the medication?
I've been on it for a little over a year.
Okay. Have you talked to your doctor about it at all?
I have. And she's suggested other medications. I'm just not sure if I want to add on another medication.
Yeah, no, I understand that. See, this is what happens. I just want to tell you that you're so not alone with this. It's like, I don't know if you went out for depression or anxiety. You're like, I'm too depressed or anxious to have sex. And then you feel like having sex and then you are feeling happier, but then you have sex and you can't have an orgasm or you just don't, your libido has been impacted.
It's honestly both, but I like can't even make myself orgasm at times, which is like truly like the most sad thing to experience.
That is.
So, yeah.
Well, I wonder, so honestly, I was going to say if you'd been on it, sometimes the side effects go away for some people. There's a few things that happen. Sometimes the side effects go away for some people after a few months. Now, some of it could also be that we are, this happens so much with sex that we think it happened once, you couldn't orgasm, and then you're like, oh, I won't be able to orgasm, and then you continue, can't. It's like, we hear this from guys a lot about premature ejaculation, right? That happens once, and then every time they have sex, they come quickly because they're afraid it's going to happen. There's also a lot to be said for talking to your doctor, but seeing what you could do if you reduced it just a tiny bit. But I would not do that without talking to your doctor, because I feel like sometimes they have you reduce it or they can add something else in. You could also do some of the things I talk about on the show, which is like mindfulness practices, getting out of your head, and because the side effects can subside for many people, they do. And so you could be like, I don't know how to know if you're caught up in a pattern right now. Do you mind if telling me what you're on? Is it like an SSRI, like Prozac or Zoloft? Yeah.
It's Prozac, yeah.
Prozac, okay. Yeah, it's like that. So that is really common. And so I think, and I know this is for many people, and I took it in the past, and it's like I would go down, I think and this was like years ago, but you just sort of, it was a tiny bit of a reduction and it made a difference. And again, still don't know, I think there's something to be said for reducing the medication and feeling like you've done something different. So is it the placebo effect? It clearly has an impact, but also so much of sex is our mind and our brains. When our brains are on board for sex, our body will follow. So like how much time, Olivia, are you spending in a space where you're like thinking about erotic thoughts or how you want sex to happen or how's your fantasy life? Because there's a lot of that goes into sex as well.
Right. I think sometimes I get in what you're talking about, like this mind block where it's very easy to forget those those processes that lead to an orgasm or lead to being turned on. And that's definitely something to remember.
I mean, that's what I would recommend. So, did you, also, did you try other medications before?
Right. No, I haven't. So that's definitely something to talk to my doctor about. Yeah.
Yeah, I would talk to your doctor, and just because I know sometimes it feels like you found something and it works, you don't want to mix it up.
Right.
Even though they're all SSRIs like Prozac and Zoloft, and they're all sort of the same, they impact everybody differently. And so I think that giving up your sex life and your sex drive is something to work for, if that's part of it. So I think I would say my prescription for you then would to be kind of practicing thinking about, how do I engage my mind erotically? How do I start to think about other things that turn me on? How do I be more engaged with my partner? When I'm masturbating, I'm doing something that's more, either it's more presence, it's more mindfulness, it's using your brain, getting turned on. And then also talking to your doctor, because that's, those are all the different ways. And I want you to continue to have a flourishing sex life. And that's what I recommend. So much. Of course. Thanks for calling, Olivia. I appreciate it. Yeah, so nice to hear from you. Colin, my producer here, tell me what's up.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in. I've had the same issues. I got on, my doctor prescribed a mix of Zoloft and Lexapro, and it just ran right over my sex drive.
Yeah, Zoloft and Lexapro. So you still on both of them?
No. And I talked to my doctor and we switched the Lexapro out for Wellbutrin. And that's
Wellbutrin.
Better for me.
Game changer. It's true. I was actually going to say that to our caller, and now Amanda's saying this too, that to Olivia, because she said she didn't want to go on another medication, but what doctors sometimes add is Wellbutrin, because Wellbutrin is the one antidepressant that doesn't cause sexual side effects. So are you saying that you went off of the Lexapro, you're still on Zoloft, and then you added the Wellbutrin and your sex drive came back?
Yeah. Before, the problem, it was like everything. I couldn't get an erection. I had no desire to have sex. Now the hardest thing I deal with, sometimes it's hard. And it definitely depends, even I'll notice time of day, how recently I've taken my meds. The only thing I struggle with now is just getting to an orgasm. Sometimes I can't orgasm.
Yeah. And you never had that before? No. And this is the kind of thing that you are, it's interesting they put you on both SSRIs. But it is true that there were years where I tried different things and different medications, and it's sort of a process to go to your doctor, but you have to sort of stick with it, because I don't think it's worth it to kind of give up your sex drive and your connection and your orgasm. And I also think that sometimes doctors talk about taking a vacation. This is, again, talk to your doctor about it, but you could take a little vacation from your medication, or take it later in the day or earlier in the morning, or miss it, skip a dose when it's the weekend. And so there's ways you can play with it. But yeah, it feels physical, right? You feel like you're getting turned on and it's just not happening.
Yeah. It's weird. It's such a weird feeling.
It is. And I'm also wondering, though, if there is a way that you could talk to your doctor about taking just a little bit less, even a third less. They can break pills in half. You can do certain things, because that can also really bring your sex drive back. It's just, sometimes it's just a little bit too much. And I also think our doses, I was actually just reading this article today about how, and I was going to say this to Olivia, if she's still listening, that the way a lot of these drugs were tested, we do not test them on women. And so sometimes women are given the same doses as men, but they're finding that those doses are too much, and that they didn't test it on women because of hormones. And they're we don't want to, disrupt women's hormones, but that's actually why we metabolize medications differently. And so, it's 1 in 10 Americans take an antidepressant. 23% of women in their 40s and 50s take an antidepressant, a higher percentage than any other group. And men say all the time, too, that this also impacts their sex drive. So I know that if it's something just like everything else, something that you value in your life, that you could continue to talk to your doctor about it. And there's always new medications coming out. So I'd recommend that to you, Colin, if it still happens. There's something in knowing that you're on top of it that could also help you, because we don't know, nature, nurture, placebo, the medication. But
Right.
we become wired, unfortunately, so easily. Like something happens and we're like, this is now my state. So that's why I recommend. So you have consistent clitoral stimulation. I mean, the first time I tried it, I was blown away. Well, now WeVibe introduced the Nova 2, which is truly next level. It's packed with new features. So now when you insert the Nova, it bends and locks into shape to fit your body perfectly. Then the new external stimulator is extra wide, which means you get even more vibes to your vulva and your clitoris. But forget about the tech details. Let me tell you how it feels. Oh, you can have a truly awesome blended orgasm. And they even reshape the handle so you can move exactly where you need it. Check it out at sexwithemily.com/WeVibe. Then you'll get why I'm loving the Nova 2. Check it out today. That's sexwithemily.com/WeVibe.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to Sex with Emily. And if you love the show, please like, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, share this with a friend or a partner. It might just spark something. It usually does. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and X. It's all at Sex with Emily. Oh, and I've been told I give really good email. So sign up at sexwithemily.com for free guides and articles and more ways to prioritize your pleasure.